On Larry King Now, Leah Remini pulls no punches in her new series about Scientology.
The church is really brilliant at disseminating itself as an organization that's helping people. And I, like most Scientologists, believed that what I was doing was good. And
So
I was
people now in there doing what you were doing believe that what they're doing.
No, but Larry, I was a liar. I knew that I was lying. So that's what I am admitting to you.
So you
that
were
I
a
was
fraud.
Correct.
If you leave the church or you speak out against, what do they try to do? Do they try to suppress you?
They have Scientologists picketing in front of people's houses, going, "Don't trust your neighbor," implying that he's a sexual deviant. They go after your jobs, and when that doesn't work, they go after your family.
Plus, did you know Tom Cruise when you were there?
Yes, I did know Tom.
He was sincere about it.
Tom is a fully dedicated and loyal Scientologist, absolutely.
So what would he say to you?
He wouldn't say anything to me because he thinks I'm the devil.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our guest today is actress Leah Remini, who for 35 years was a member and active proponent of the Church of Scientology. She publicly left the church in 2013 and went on to write a best-selling memoir about her experience called Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology. And now Leah is taking on the church again in her new docuseries called Leah Remini, Scientology and Its Aftermath. It airs Tuesdays at 10, 9 Central on A&E. You wrote the book, you left. Why the documentary?
Well, what happened after the book was people were reaching out to me. I was watching the church and its parishioners go after people who were speaking out against the church, against its policies. And so I felt a responsibility to defend them. And I've always been somewhat of a person who likes to defend people. This is why my work in the church was important, because I felt that I was doing that I was helping people, that I was defending something that was decent, and that part of me is still there. And
Were you
so,
a salaried employee?
I wasn't a salaried employee, but the church is really brilliant at disseminating itself as an organization that's helping people. And when I was in the church, I have to say, a lot of the information that we received was from our church. And I often get asked this question, like, didn't you get on the internet? I mean, don't you read newspapers? Don't you see magazines? Didn't you know what was going on? Of course we had access to information, but taking that information to your church and then asking your church, hey, I'm hearing about beatings going on at the upper management of the church, you would get interrogated for even asking, and you would have to pay for those interrogations that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. But also, the allegations that were being waged against the church were, of course, as a young Scientologist, you learn very early on that anything coming from the press is a lie.
What attracted it to you?
I was a child when I got into Scientology, so I didn't really have a choice. It wasn't that I was attracted to it as a child, although as I think very harmful is that they treat children as adults. They believe that children are big spirits in little bodies that have come back to Scientology. So if you can imagine being a child and wanting to be older, as all children do, the church does validate that in you and says, welcome back, and you're a big being for being here, and you're going to help save the planet.
Do you believe they're sincere? Or are they frauds? Or are they sincere in what they believe?
Remember, I was part of this, so it's a little difficult to answer that. I can only say now the latter. But when I was in, I believed that what I was doing was great. I believed that I was helping people. Scientologists believe that they are helping people because that's what's being told to them.
So when you were a believer, you were helping people?
I was
Did
helping
you see people get better?
Good question. I saw people get better in ways that I can't say they couldn't have received that same help by talking to a bona fide therapist or talking to a good friend.
But they got help.
Yes and no,
Aren't they-
because Scientology as a whole is, I think, it's my opinion that it's fraudulent, because everything in Scientology is a promise of, when you get to these upper levels, you will handle this in yourself, you will handle that in yourself. Those upper levels are confidential, and they cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's a pay-as-you-go religion. You can't just show up to a church and get free services. Of course, they offer free services in the beginning, but then as you actually progress...
So you can't be poor and be a Scientologist?
No, not at all. I've seen people cash in their 401ks. I see them living in a way that is sacrificing their lives, their children.
Do they have services?
They don't. They appear to be doing that. They put up a front that they believe in God, or that it's secular, that you can believe in anything, which is...
That's a front.
That's a front, and
When
that's a lie.
you were doing it all those years, did you say, I'm part of a front?
No. I, like most Scientologists, believed that what I was doing was good, and
So
I was
people now in there doing what you were doing believe that what they're doing.
No, but Larry, I was a liar. I knew that I was lying. So that's what I am admitting to you.
So you
that
were
I
a
was
fraud.
Correct.
Did you reach the upper level?
I did, and so did my mother, and so did my stepfather, and many others who have
How about
left.
those famous people? And Tom Cruise. I spent a day with Tom Cruise about Scientology. I went to the anti-psychiatry center.
And what did you think of that?
I thought he was totally into it.
Yeah, but what did you think of the whole...
I
Yes.
didn't agree with that. I like psychiatry. I think it helps a lot of people.
Right.
But Tom Cruise believes it.
Yes.
I don't think he's out to fool you.
No, but Tom is very well aware of what is Scientology, truthfully. He is very aware that it's an organization that is defrauding people out of their lives. But in his heart, I believe he believes it. So I don't believe that
That's
he's...
what I mean.
Yeah, he's totally.
Is this whole thing a fraud?
I can't say that the whole thing is a fraud. But what I will say is it's not worth giving up your whole life for. It's abusive. I think it's mentally damaging to people.
Did they ask you to do that, to give your life to it?
Scientology demands that you put in 2.5 hours a day minimum, every day. Your whole life is about forwarding the purpose of Scientology.
Our guest is Leah Remini, and we're discussing her revealing new documentary series about Scientology. More on Leah's attempts to expose the inner workings of the church and how the documentary works right after the break. Our guest is Leah Remini. She wrote the book Troublemaker, and she is the producer of this series, right? The Church of Scientology disputes your claims. They've written, she desperately tried to remain a Scientologist in 2013, knowing full well she was on the verge of being expelled for refusing to abide by the high-level ethics and decency Scientologists are expected to maintain. Her transgressions were so egregious, she was expelled, which remains the source of her bitterness today. How do you respond?
It's sad because I know the culture of Scientology, a lot of the teachings of Scientology is how to attack your critics. So I understand it. I'm sad for them because I know how hateful they are towards anyone speaking out.
Were you one of the attackers in the past?
Yes, and so again, it's a hard show to do. It's hard to sit here and attack it, but they make it very easy when I see what they do to their victims. And I want to avoid anybody ever giving up their lives and their families for something so, I think, damaging.
You were called a suppressive person.
Correct.
What is that?
A suppressive person is a label that the Church of Scientology gives to anyone who leaves and publicly speaks out against it. They label you a suppressive, and the policy is from that, no one can speak to you if you're labeled a Scientologist. So no Scientologist could talk to you. So be it a mother or father. But what is disturbing is where it comes to families, where a family member believes wholeheartedly that Scientology is their salvation, to a point where they will not talk to their son or daughter, mother or father.
The church tells you not to?
The church not only tells you to, but they have a policy that mandates it. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because when you talk to most people, normal people go, so what? Get up and leave. Like, why would you? The brainwashing begins at a very early age in Scientology, in the teachings. Scientologists believe that they are saving the planet, and that without L. Ron Hubbard's technology of Scientology, the world will cease to exist. So in their hearts, they believe they're saving the person from shunning them because that person will straighten up. But they also believe that they would be saving them anyway because of the good works of Scientology. They get away with things with the press by saying there is no such thing as disconnection. And they're very slick in that way.
You tell the story of Amy Scobie on the show. She says she was raped as a 14-year-old by her 35-year-old supervisor.
Correct.
Have you heard that before? Over
and over again. And by the way, I don't want anyone to ever take my word for it. And I love people say, I believe Leah. You don't need to believe me. Google it. Look on the internet. Put in if you just put in your search engine Scientology and child molestation, Scientology and fair game, Scientology and disconnection, there's story after story after story.
Yeah, and that was that series last year, right? Or 2 years ago.
HBO's
Did you like it?
Going Clear. I didn't like it. I loved it. It was unemotional. It was clinical in how they told the story. They were not Scientologists, which the church would love to say they're bitter ex-Scientologists. But the church also had choice words for HBO and Alex Gibney and Lawrence Wright and Anderson Cooper. They'll have some words for you. You know, it's I'm not in bad company. Everybody who comes out and speaks out against the church is called the same things. The church denies everything.
What do we see in your documentary?
What you see are personal stories. What you see are people who've been there, who lived their whole lives for Scientology, who went up to the highest spiritual levels of Scientology.
Do they try to take things out against you? If you leave the church or you speak out against, what do they try to do? Do they try to suppress you?
They have a policy called fair game that they claim has been canceled. And they, in fact, did issue another policy that says fair game has been canceled. However, there's another policy that says, however, dealing with suppressive people remains the same. Dealing with suppressive people means to go after them, try to destroy their lives, try to find any crimes they've committed, expose them hard. You can lie about them. They have Scientologists picketing in front of people's houses going, don't trust your neighbor, implying that he's a sexual deviant. They go after your jobs. And when that doesn't work, they go after your family.
What is its attraction?
Its attraction is for people. Remember, Scientology started, Dianetics started in the 50s.
L. Ron Hubbard, I interviewed him.
Oh, how was that?
He was fascinating.
Yeah.
He was a science fiction writer.
Correct.
It was the time he was inventing Scientology.
Inventing is a good word.
Took a lot of concepts from the Mormon Church.
But he also misrepresents himself to all Scientologists as a rewarded a Navy officer, which is untrue, a college graduate, untrue, a neuroscientist. I don't even know how many labels he's given himself, but as Scientologists, we believed all this. So we believed that what we were reading was science and proven, because that's what he says.
Are they still getting new members all the time? Because every time I drive by the church, I see young people.
You see second and third generation Scientologists. I think you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find somebody who's coming into the church, walking off the street, going, I'm interested in Scientology.
We're discussing some of Scientology's most famous followers like John Travolta and Tom Cruise, and whether there's anything Leah misses about the organization. After the break, that's next. We're talking with Leah Remini. She's called Leah Remini Scientology in the Aftermath. It airs Tuesdays at 10, 9 Central on A&E. Why is celebrity so connected to it?
I don't think celebrities are so connected to it because if you look at the numbers, they're quite small in comparison to the majority of actors in this town.
Did you know Tom Cruise when you were there?
Uh-huh. Yes, I did know Tom.
He was sincere about it.
Tom is a fully dedicated and loyal Scientologist, absolutely.
So what would he say to you? He
wouldn't say anything to me because he thinks I'm the devil. He honestly believes, Tom and all Scientologists are taught to believe that people like me are literally the devil, that we mean them harm.
And what do you believe about him?
I believe that he's, like me, has been lied to.
Is he delusional?
I mean, I could say that about myself at the time, yes. Yes, I didn't want to look, I didn't want to believe that what I was involved in my whole life was a lie, that it was damaging and hurting people. Yeah, you could say that I was delusional.
Are there people in the church who are very happy with it?
Yes.
Because?
Because it gives them a sense of purpose. It makes them feel they belong somewhere. It makes them feel that there's hope, that this is not it for life, that you have an afterlife and you're doing the job of saints. And that's very alluring, Larry. It's like I didn't want to just be an actress. I didn't want to just be an average person. The Church of Scientology promotes that you are doing amazing things for the world. They have events, very important events, every five times a year, and it's mandatory that all Scientologists attend. And in these events, these are astronomical statistics that are being shown to us, commendations from senators, from congresspeople, and you see these amazing fraudulent statistics, or they're said in a way that make you think, we're expanding, the world is accepting us. Oh my God, look at all the great things we're doing. And that is why they sacrifice everything that they do.
What turned you off?
What turned me off was seeing upper management behaving in the way that they were behaving. I asked a question about where the leader's wife was because she was not at the wedding. I was watching the attacks go on publicly of former members that I respected that were in for 25, 35 years in Scientology being attacked by the church. When I went in to ask about these abuses that I heard about on the internet and on the news, I was attacked for it. I was punished, again, at my expense. My family was gone after, so I saw the turn. You know, when you see somebody turn on you so quickly, you start to see the organization for what it is. And then I just started looking. And once you start looking, Larry, it's probably the quickest deprogramming ever of a cult ever. You spend 5 minutes on the internet and you see the truth, and that's it. And because Scientology doesn't allow people to look, but they say they're an organization that allows its members to think for itself, and yes, we believe this, no, we know it, they don't know. They won't watch this show, they won't read my book, they're not allowed to be in the same room with me. That doesn't speak of free will. That doesn't speak of spirituality.
Does the money the people pay go into certain pockets, or does it make new buildings? What do they do with the money?
Well, I don't know legally how they offload their money, but I would assume that one of them is buying big buildings because they can't keep amassing money, but they offload it in that way.
And the buildings have housing. Do a lot of Scientologists live in the buildings?
Well, there's Scientologists, and then there's the people who work at Scientology, and they're called Sea Org members. And they sign billion-year contracts, and they live in those buildings. But parishioners live like, you know, normal, but they are at their church most of the day. Usually a Scientologist day is go to work, usually for a Scientology company, and then go and do Scientology for 2.5 hours minimum a day.
You were in there quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
You must have liked it.
I liked that well, I don't know. Do people who are brainwashed Do they like the circumstances they're in? No, there were many times that I wanted to get out. As a matter of fact, I was saddened when the IRS granted the Church of Scientology tax-exempt status. They basically cleared the road.
Even though you were in it?
I was in it, but I was hoping to get out of it. I was hoping...
Why is it so? Why can't you just say goodbye?
If I say goodbye, I'm saying goodbye to my mother, I'm saying goodbye to my stepfather, I'm saying goodbye to my sister. Yeah, most Scientologist families are... if you're a Scientologist for real, everybody you know are Scientologists, because you start to go further and further away from the real world.
She's still there?
My mother, I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm the one who left with my whole family, which is very, very rare. Most people choose their church over their own family in this scenario with this organization.
Our guest is Leah Remini. The series is Leah Remini, Scientology and the Aftermath. It airs Tuesdays at 10, 9 Central on A&E. You asked, she's answering. Leah's tackling your many social media questions in our final segment. We'll be right back. Before we get to social media questions for Leah Remini, we should note that the church calls your reality show a scripted, rehearsed, acted, and dramatized work of fiction. You're featuring liars who have, for a profit, been telling differing versions of the same false tales of abuse for years, many reviewed and discredited in courts of law.
Great.
How do you respond?
I don't. I think that says a lot about this organization. I don't really need to...
What are they saying? That you have liars who...
That they should sue us. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, if we're lying... And listen, they say this on every outlet they can. They have said that about every single person who's spoken out, and not one lawsuit has been brought to anybody. And this is not a group that is scared of a lawsuit. They're a litigious group. And so if that were true, they would simply sue us. And I welcome them to do that.
So despite these documentaries and books and the like, people still join?
I don't think people still join, Larry. I don't.
No?
But what I'm not going to stand for is an organization with this kind of money to continue to do things like that and to bully people and to harass people, to defraud people out of their lives, their money, but more importantly, their families. And I'm just not going to sit around and watch it happen.
Here are some social media questions. Kim Leslie FM, what's your biggest fear regarding your decision to take on the Scientologists?
My biggest fear is that nothing happens. Really, I am hoping that an investigation will be opened up. I'm hoping that judges will start looking at the actual policies of the church that I think are abusive. And I hope that more people come forward and speak out. I hope that lawsuits are brought against the church. And my biggest fear is that won't happen.
At Mesh Roldan, has the Church of Scientology ever apologized for how you felt during your time with them?
No. They have said they did things maybe incorrectly with me, punishing me for answering questions that cost me money. But they don't actually apologize or take any responsibility for their actions.
Linda Q. Villa wants to know how you told your family you were leaving, and how did you all leave?
We all left because I was being interrogated, because I was asking about the abuses. I was asking where Shelley Miscavige was, the leader's wife.
He's the leader now?
Yeah, he's the leader of the church. And my whole family was pulled in, so they actually helped the decision because they were interrogating my family now and trying to turn my family against me.
So who left? You and who else? My
mother, my stepfather, my sister, my brother-in-law.
Any children?
Well, my daughter was never indoctrinated into Scientology, thank God.
Claire Belgado wants to know how to expose the truth about Scientology to those members who can't watch your show, worried that they can't hear it.
Right. I don't have a way.
They're not allowed to watch it, right?
They're not allowed to watch it, but I hope that there are people who are questioning it, and they will watch it, and they will look for themselves, and they will decide for themselves. I got a letter, by the way, I've received hundreds of letters of support. I received a letter recently from someone who said, "Thank you for saving my son's life. He was interested in Scientology. I made him watch Going Clear. I made him watch your show, and he's decided not to." to go in. And so I felt, okay, I got one. I saved one.
Megan Beth Kenworthy, do you see the Church of Scientology slowly losing momentum in the next few years?
Yes. L. Ron Hubbard was a genius in how to hold people prisoner mentally, but he did not foresee the internet. And there was a time when we would have to go after looking for a Time magazine or looking for things, and we would be punished for it. But now the internet, it has honestly saved people.
At Grammy 80, how's your sister doing? Does she have a tough time?
My little sister had a tough time because her husband was a Scientologist, of course, and his father disconnected from him, and his sister disconnected from him. He will not know his niece and nephews. So that's hard, especially they were at a Christmas event with non-Scientologists, and my brother-in-law's father was there, and he walked out of the room when his son walked in. Could you imagine being at a function and your own father turning his back on you, or your own sister?
Does Scientology celebrate Christmas?
I'm sure there's Scientologists who open presents.
Do they have trees at the place?
Sure,
Sing
but
the hymns?
it's not a it's not a religious event for.
But it's a religion. Gets tax exemption.
I agree. Yes, you could thank the IRS for that one.
They gave them.
Well, listen. I think it says a lot about the organization that it literally bullied the IRS out of their job.
Jay Savage, 21. Do you think what you're doing will end Scientology?
I don't know that. I don't want to end Scientology. I want to end their practices that I think are harmful. I think if people want to do Scientology in their home, or they want to do it somewhere else, but the church doesn't allow that.
Don't they have a good record in helping people who are drug addicts?
I would welcome you to look up Narcanon and Scientology. No.
Well, you're saying they don't have a good record?
They claim they do. They actually falsely promote that they have one of the highest rated drug rateability.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but again, don't take my word for it.
All right, one more. Bob Butler, what's the #1 thing you want people to know about Scientology?
Really do their own research. I can sit here for hours with you discussing it. There isn't one thing. It's a harmful proposition. For the beginning courses that help you with communication and morals that are found in any real religion, decent religion, it's not worth what you have to give up. And it's a harmful, dangerous proposition that will cost you $250,000 minimum and your life.
And we're going to do more on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Big thanks to my guest, Leah Remini. Leah Remini, Scientology in the Aftermath, airs Tuesdays at 10 p.m. 9 Central on A&E. You can always find me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time.